Welcome in to another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. We have a full show today. We're going to give our final thoughts on Chiefs Chargers, talk about the Chiefs defensive line, an update on the Nick Bolton injury, and finish off with our greatest segment, the AFC West expansion. Gives us an opportunity to crap on the Broncos and Raiders. My name is Quentin Morris. We got this running the show in the background. And now, a guy who gets confused when he looks at his smartphone, JP.
Game day.
What's
How's
up,
it going?
everybody? How you doing, man? How you doing?
Well, it's been very rainy, and it's just been like one of those fall days that you just need a nice dark rainy day. Not for my inner emo to come out, but you just
Yeah.
need like a nice dark rainy day.
Well, your outer emo is always out, so
Yeah.
Last week. Now we drop down to the 80s, and by what's up, Will? And then supposedly by Sunday it's going to be 63. We'll see how true that is. But hey, man, I'll take 63 all day long for the 90s in the middle of October. So, let's get started, man. Got a show to do here. I don't know what the hell you're around about.
I guess we could start with our final thoughts on the Chiefs Chargers game. I can go first here. Look, I thought there were a lot of positives come out of that game. When I wrote about the game in my post-game article, I really just talked about how this was a full and complete game by the Chiefs. I know they played the Bears really, really hard, and they really beat up on the Bears. But, it's more impressive when you beat up on a divisional opponent and a team that's not going to have the number one overall pick in the draft. So when the Chiefs come out of this game, and I think the biggest part was that the rest of the receiving corps stepped up. I don't think we really talked about that as much as we probably could have or should have on the post-game show. But Rashee Rice is a guy that I know we talked about. And then MVS was a guy that really stepped up. So it's important to really see, how the rest of the core stood up.
I look at this game and I think, okay, it's not a coincidence. It's just not. We played 3 teams basically back to back to back that had, their top 3 in points allowed on defense, all 3 of them. But we didn't score those kind of points in that fashion, especially against the Broncos. I don't say I can't say that this is it's a coincidence that McCall Hartman's back, because it just opened up the field. MVS got more touches. Everybody seemed to run the route correctly. And of course, he had his 50-yard return, which was nice. But he brings a morale to the locker room also that really helps. People love him. The team loves him. They don't have any negativity towards him whatsoever. And he didn't have any towards them. The one thing that I noticed that I'm happy about is that he has laid off on the social media as far as doing all the spaces and all of that stuff that he was doing last year. I think given the fact that he went to New York and it didn't work out so well for him, it humbled him a little bit, is what it is. But McColl made a difference. He absolutely made a difference. And absolutely, Thiz, you're 100% correct. Rice, I put it out on Twitter, and it's true. Rice is that guy. And I'm just telling you now, they've already told me that he continues to do what he's doing. You're going to see by probably week 10, they're going to call him the number 1 wide receiver.
Look,
because he's playing like one.
I don't mean this. I don't mean this as an insult. I think Rice is a Sammy Watkins kind of guy without a glass foot.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think that he can play that outside role. He can play a lot of that inside role in the slot. I think he plays a lot bigger than he actually is. Um, I would love to see
Yeah.
his route tree get expanded, which I know we're going to see as the year moves on. I think your point on McCole Hardman is at least partially true. Um, I'm not totally bought in to he was that secret piece to the offense, but I do think he made an
No,
impact.
no.
What a
So, I don't know who
ridiculous
that
take
is.
on Rice. What's a ridiculous take that he's like a Sammy Watkins type?
He's an absolutely Sammy Watkins type. He plays just as well as Sammy, just not injury prone. He's just as good as Sammy. If in fact, I think he might be a little bit better. He doesn't have Sammy's burst, but he's a great route runner, and he's fucking strong. And when you can muscle a ball down and keep going, he just you're right. He plays bigger than he is. Plays a lot bigger than he is. He plays. He has that Sammy Watkins style of play in a smaller frame. I guess is really kind of how you have to look at it. But
Yeah, and I know Philip and I have gotten into a few conversations about this that, when he was drafted, I didn't want to put a ton of pressure on the guy just because rookies in this offense tend to, I don't want to say struggle, but don't get off to a hot start immediately for all the reasons we've talked about in the past, that this is a hard offense to learn. And, you've got so much to deal with by learning all three route trees, et cetera, et cetera. So he's
yeah,
already done more, I think, within the first, we'll just call it 2 months of the NFL season than I thought that he's been, especially when, look, you needed someone to step up, and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore haven't been there. So Rice stepped up in a role where he became that guy to step up. And I think that's impressive. And I don't think that we should let that go lightly, that a guy who didn't need to be the one to step up decided to be that guy and show that he can be the one to lead a wide receiver room when there were three other guys in front of him that had more opportunities to do so.
I agree. I mean, he has that it factor that, and he's learned the playbook so well, and that's pretty amazing to me that he's learned it so quickly. I think Andy's always been that vanilla type of guy, especially at the beginning of the season. And he did a little practice bullshit with Denver, and that's okay. I mean, what better team to practice against? If you're going to practice, do it against them.
Yeah,
Experimental shit.
we get another full tackle practice here coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a blast to watch. But Rice is just everybody complained about his drops and this and that and the other. I look, man, like I said at the beginning of the season, those things can all be fixed. His talent, his raw talent, his God given ability is there. And it's improving week by week. And I still think that with McCole out on the field, it helped him open up because they put him on the outside a lot. I don't know if you noticed, but they planted McCole inside, put him on the outside, or they would do it vice versa. They put McCole on the outside along with Toney or MVS, and then put Rice in the middle or on the inside in the slot. And then you had Kelsey come across. I don't know, man. It just, to me, it seemed like the offense, they felt a little more rejuvenated, more in sync. I know we didn't play the greatest secondary, but we haven't played a great secondary for a while. I mean, if you really think about it, the Bears, not a great secondary. Broncos, not a great secondary. And the Chargers, not a great secondary. All of them are giving up every one of those teams are giving up over 270 yards a game. Every one of them. So, man, I can't complain about these fucking guys. They're playing out of their shoes. It just is what it is. I'm
Yeah.
excited as hell about this team.
My
I don't know.
The next thing that I want to talk about sort of bleeds over into our next topic. So this just run it, the Chiefs defensive line.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
the first guy I want to talk about is Charles Omenihu.
Oh my
For a
God.
guy that came off of a 6-game suspension, that hadn't played football in a month and a half, only been back with the team 2 weeks since the preseason, came out and looked great. I mean, he did, and he had one of the bigger he was part of one of the bigger defensive plays of the day. That final interception that really sealed the game for Kansas City. The interception, that was a ball tipped by Charles Omenihu. He was getting pressure. He opened up more for this defense in terms of where Chris Jones can line up.
Yeah.
I know Jones had a very quiet game in terms of the statistics. He didn't register or tackle. So
yeah, which is weird.
I know that he didn't end up in the statistical category and in terms of that, but he is going to allow, you either have to double team Chris Jones or double team Omenihu. You guys
can't double team them both.
You're going to open up the door for the rest of this defensive line, and Kansas City's going to face. I want to see what this is going to be like against the Dolphins, who have a better defense or an offensive line. I know that you can't overlook the Broncos, and we'll talk about more of that game more on Thursday. But this is going to be a great addition for Kansas City, and I am just surprised how quickly he seemed to come into this team because we talk about football shape and how there's a difference between being at home, hitting the bench press, being in practice, and then playing an actual game. Yeah, and he didn't seem to skip a beat. And I know it's one game, but most importantly, it's his first game. And damn, did he just look good?
He did. Weirdly enough, and I don't know if you remember all this stupid ass chatter that went around, he was just a rotational piece. What do you mean? He's not going to be any good. He's just going to come in as a rotational piece here. Man, I don't know how many times I have to stress system. If you fit well within a system, you're going to play well within that system. If you're unhappy in another system, you're not going to play as well. We have seen that so many times with players that have stepped out of a different system that were either benched, didn't play well, had issues one way or the other, and came into our system and played lights out. And he's one of those guys. But I mean, if you went back when we signed him, I mean, it was all over Twitter. Oh God, he sucks. He's just a rotational piece. He's nobody. You're wrong. He's actually very good, and he's a cornerstone piece of this defensive line now. The fact that we brought back Mike Pennell is a big thing. I mean, I like the fact that we brought him back. It's always nice to have fresh legs. I'm kind of, it's a good insurance piece. It's a good, if you want to. Somebody asked me today if I thought he was going to be put in games. Absolutely, I do. At some point between now and week 17.
I want to see now.
God,
it makes me want to see Omenihu and Jones on the outside.
Yeah.
And then you run Pennell and pick your, whatever, Mike Dana.
Pick him, yeah, Mike Dana.
Tackles.
Yeah, Mike Dana.
Could you imagine the chaos that's going to? Because as a tackle, right, you are trained, coached, and you just go up against a certain body type, right? Your defensive edges in today's NFL are mid 200s, right? 200 pounds,
and are like 240,
or 6 foot, 6'2", something like that. You put Chris Jones, who's like 325, 6'7", and Omenihu, who is similar body type on the outside. You don't. It's just you don't have the experience to block against that. So
no, you don't.
When it's you've got a 4th and 4. You got a 3rd and 7 on the 50-yard line, and there's 4 minutes left in the game, and you need to stop right now. I want to see Spags run double defensive tackles on the outside, and just to see the chaos that I think Chris Jones and Omenihu can run. That, to me, if that happens, that will be the first conversation of topic on the show after the game is over.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, Pennell, he's a beast. He's a beast. He's really good in certain situational packages and schemes, more so than others, but he's going to help tremendously. Oh, absolutely. He's going to help in the defensive backfield. He'll get picks. He's got huge hands. we're already the team. We have the most batted passes of any team in football, and that's by a large margin. So you add, God, if you put Chris Jones is with his athleticism, and then you put Aminihu on the other side with his athleticism, and even if you move Karlaftis in with his strength, holy shit! I mean,
PFF
that's
already
insane.
has Chris
God,
Jones on third and fourth downs. When Chris Jones is on the outside, he has a 36% win rate
yeah,
as a pass rusher.
I know.
Your elite, your top, the cream of the crop defensive edge rushers are around 22%,
Yeah,
25%. So when Chris Jones gets put on the outside, he is the best outside pass rusher in the NFL. Now, a lot of that I do think is just that tackles are not used to blocking guys that are that big. And they aren't used to dealing with a guy that can bull rush them quite like a guy like Chris Jones can. So it truly is a unique matchup. So it's not one that, if you put him outside all game, it's not going to be as effective. But when you sort of pick and choose your battles, then I do think that him being that consistently good on the outside, I do think is possible moving forward because Spags is able to puppet master his way into getting a lot of these pressures. So I'm excited about that. It is extremely exciting to see the work that this defensive line is doing. I know personally, I was somebody that was like, I think I need one more piece. Bring in one more piece to beginning for the beginning of the year, and this defensive line is going to be good. I think this defensive line has excelled
oh
with
man,
what it's done up to this point. I mean, hell, this whole defense has. And just in terms of the defensive line, it has been extremely impressive what they've been able to do. And Charles Omenihu, if he continues to perform similar throughout the rest of the season, then this defensive line is going to continue to be one of the reasons why the Chiefs have an elite defense.
and I agree. Spags does deserve a lot of the credit, but also Joe Cullen deserves a lot of the credit.
Yeah, this
This
defensive
defense,
line turned around because of as soon as he got here.
absolutely, he is probably, in fact, I think right now he's probably the best defensive line coach and should be a defensive coordinator. But he's a beast, an absolute animal. He knows exactly what he's doing all the time. He knows where to place people against certain defensive pack or offensive packages. He just knows what he's doing. I was so happy when we brought him in, and everybody said, "Why are you so excited?" This is why. Everything, like I said a million times on this show, everything starts at the front line. Whether it's war, whether it's football, it starts at the front line. And if that line is in perfect formation, everybody else behind you can do their job. Not fall off assignments, not jump off their guy, just do their job. And that's what we've seen. Week in and week out, we just tend to get a little bit better. Right now, I think we're averaging 14 points a game
We are the
allowed.
only team in the NFL to not allow 21 points.
Yes. There's only one team that's allowed less points than us, or actually, I take that back, that had allowed less
Yeah, I
points
think
than
San
us.
Francisco last night blew that.
They lost it.
So
Yes.
Kansas City has officially allowed the least amount of points per game. The last point I'll
Correct.
make about the defensive line before we move on to our next topic is that I think all of this production from everybody else will allow Felix to sort of get that redshirt year. I think last year we put a lot of pressure on Karlaftis because Kansas City needed him to be an immediate production guy. Kansas City doesn't need
Absolutely.
that now. So Felix, you can take your, 10 snaps a game. You can get on
Time.
late in games when the score, the team doesn't need you. And I think that's good for him.
We we actually stepped up in so many different ways with this defensive line. I had noticed FAU, and I mentioned this a couple of shows before, that his snap count had started diminishing a little bit. And I know why, but he's a young guy. They put a lot of pressure on him. He was doing well at the beginning of the season, first game or two, and then it started to kind of, you know, drop off a little bit from there. This is why they're doing what they're doing. Can't blame them. We got an elite secondary that I don't think anybody. We have the number one secondary in football. There's no doubt in my mind. You know, when you really look at it, we probably got top 5 defensive line. maybe top 3. We got the number one linebacker core in the league. There's nobody, well, now that Nick Bolton's out a little bit, but we still have 3 phenomenal players. And then you got the best secondary in football. I don't know how you could go wrong with this group. Everything they have done, especially with some of these young guys that are so just, you'd think they would be so raw, and they're on top of everything. And I give credit not so much to the secondary coach as I do to Justin Reed. Justin Reed has done a phenomenal job teaching these guys, talking them up, getting them prepared, motivating them, and I think that's helped a whole lot with just having Justin Reed on the field. Everybody was, I really did think that, when you talk about Honey Badger, he was great at doing that until he wasn't. Justin Reed has got his mindset to win, and now he's got everybody else's mindset in that same way, and I like that. Yeah, McDuffie is sick. McDuffie's just sick.
Kansas City has the best cornerback duo. I mean, I could listen to, I know Cleveland's got a great pair over there, but I think the worst you could say is it's what, the third best cornerback duo in the NFL. I mean,
that
seriously.
would be, and that's pushing it, yeah.
And that's where we're at right now. I know you brought up the Nick Bolton injury, so let's transfer to that.
Okay, it's pretty simple. We know what it is. I mean, we talked about it. I got a call during the game, and the first thing they said was, I'm pretty sure he broke his wrist. And I went, fuck. And I actually put it on Twitter. I said, I hate to be that guy, but sounds like he broke his wrist. The way the person I was speaking with was a foot from him. And they said he was screaming so loud in pain that they were 100% positive he broke his wrist. He did dislocate it, but he's having surgery, which tells me that he's probably got a hairline fracture. Because when you dislocate something, you can pop it back in place and normally not have surgery unless something's broken or torn. So I imagine that's what's happened, and he's going to be out 2 months. They said it's going to be about 2 months.
Yeah, so that 6 to 8 week mark. Kansas City's got a bye week in there, so we got to remember that. But it just sucks. I mean, there's not really a lot to say about it. Look, Kansas City, we've got 3 more competent guys, right? Drew Tranquill, who at the end of the year, maybe one of the most underrated free agency signing Kansas City made. Great to take him away from a division rival and a guy that's given you trouble for the last few years. We've got Willie Gay, who continues to impress with his athleticism, his speed, and specifically his downhill speed. It's like when he sees go ball, get ball, right? The guy gets the ball and he's just ready to go. And then Leo Chenal, who got pushed back on the depth chart because of a couple of these other guys, but is still a good guy in coverage and is able to go make plays. And that doesn't even consider, we've got some safeties when we run these dime sets that we've got safeties that can play linebacker roles. So it sucks to lose your best linebacker, the guy that wears the green dot. But you can hold up for a couple months, during the regular season. You are at least now on track to get him back a little bit before the playoff push to get him back, and we should be good to go there. But it's an injury that you can afford. It's unfortunate.
You don't want to, but yeah, you can.
Don't know, but I think Kansas City can take a deep breath to know that he'll be back at some point.
Absolutely. I mean, he said out of the tree, let Drew go. Money. They don't know what look, man. I don't know how many times I have to say it, but they don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. That team is in. I mean, it's like Broncos 2.0. It's just a dysfunctional
franchises do dysfunctional.
There's nothing you can do about it. Yes, they do. And you deserve what you get. You wonder why that goes on defense. You get rid of Drew Tranquill. You do all of these things that make you worse and expect with the Chargers. But get into this really quick. Justin Herbert actually said out of his mouth. He said that finger the reason why he's not playing well. Yeah. So I was a little surprised given the fact that he made use. He's not that guy normally. He doesn't make excuses to why that he played, which I don't think he played that bad. I don't think he played we've seen a lot worse this year as far as quarterback play is concerned. I don't think he played that bad. I think it was just a combination of a lot of different things. Bad play calls on their side, a terrible defense ran by their head coach. I'm going to die on this hill. If you put Justin Herbert in a legitimate organization with a halfway decent team, he's going to have success. It's impossible to have success with that shit that he has to deal with on a day in, day out basis. He's not playing well because he's not elite like that.
I agree with Chronic Thoughts KC Mo.
He may not be elite, but he's great. He's a better quarterback than what we're seeing.
I think that he is a top 10 quarterback, but on the fringe of that top 10. I think he's probably the 7th, 8th best quarterback in the NFL. And if you're starting a franchise for a 1-year run, I think there are plenty of guys that you would take in front of Justin Herbert. And I do think that organization hasn't set him up to succeed. Staley is not a good head coach. He is supposed to be a defensive guy, and he is running one of the worst defenses in football. So there are plenty of reasons why I would take other quarterbacks. Would I take him? I would probably take him before Kirk Cousins.
I would.
But look, there's a reason why the guy leads in fourth quarter interceptions in the NFL. It just seems like, to me, he is Phillip Rivers without the fun, trash talk.
Oh, I thought it was a Baby Fitz.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting at. The Baby Fits. The Baby Fits are fun. They're funny to watch. And Justin Herbert isn't that. Justin Herbert, he has a big arm, right? But he doesn't seem to want to use it. What's the point?
I don't know if
What's
it's
the point of having the Ferrari if you can't go 90 miles an hour down the highway,
But he's not cut loose. And I think that's part of the problem is they've yet to give him any free reign. And I think if he was on a team that he was able to just cut loose and play his style of football with a defensive-minded head coach, by the way, used to be a quarterback, which makes no fucking sense. That's the weirdest combination of, I guess, a pedigree that I've ever seen, but for a head coach. But anyway, regardless,
Staley was hired only because he had he was under that. There was that whole 2 off seasons where if you had a cup of coffee with the Rams organization, you were getting hired. So
exactly.
Yeah. I don't think that he ever should have been hired as a head coach. I think that organization hasn't put Herbert to succeed. With that being said, I think after a while you would start to see more consistent tendencies come from Justin Herbert.
Absolutely.
And when you continuously fail and you don't, then I haven't seen that elite level play. I've seen that good play. I've seen that great play, but that next level stuff, I just feel like if you were elite, even though you've been set up to fail in some sense, we would still see that elite play, on those moments when we're within the 2-minute mark and we need a touchdown and you're throwing late game interceptions. Elite quarterbacks don't do that over and over again.
Wait a minute. He's got more fourth quarter interceptions than Josh Allen.
He's got more fourth quarter interceptions since he's entered the league.
Than Josh Allen.
Yes. He has more fourth quarter interceptions than any quarterback since he entered the league.
Because Josh Allen right now leads the league since 2018 in interceptions.
And, his is fumbles too.
Whose?
Josh Allen.
No, I'm talking about straight up interceptions. He has 88 since 2018. That's more than anybody in football. Now, if
Herbert
you
came
consider
after
a
that.
total turnover ratio,
Well, you got to remember, Josh Allen was drafted before Herbert.
yeah, 1 year. 1 year
Yeah,
before
so that's
Herbert.
a year's full of turnovers.
I get it, but I'm just saying he didn't have as many his first year as he's had in the last 5 years, or yeah, I guess 5 years. So it's just strange to me that I look at. I think with Allen, it's turnover by for two different reasons. One is that he's trying way too hard to be somebody else, but also he. The other one is he forces himself into bad situations. He
I just
forces
think
himself
that
into horrible situations.
I
Herbert,
just
on the other hand, in my opinion, just isn't. I don't think he has the balls to say, and this is maybe a problem that he might have. I don't know if he has the balls to just say, "Hey, look, let me fucking do my job."
yeah.
If he would just say, "Let me do my job," maybe Staley and the organization, the front office, would say, "Fuck, let the guy do his job." But if he sits back and he says, "Okay, what's the play call?" Oh, okay, we're gonna run that again. It's never gonna fucking change.
And why did the NFL community think that this offense was going to dramatically change when we brought in a guy that got kicked out of Dallas? Right? They hired the Dallas offensive coordinator who was talked about, in a mediocre to poor manner. This is the same guy that let Ezekiel Elliott play center in a playoff game.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
look,
I agree.
I just think that organization is bad. And if he were, I don't know, pick like 7 different teams in the NFL, I think that we would be talking about Justin Herbert truly with, some of we would see way more highlight plays as it were. But
Absolutely.
I just think that organization has suppressed him. But I also think that because the organization around him has been so bad, anytime we see any glimmer of success, we want to blow it out of proportion because it's him beating the odds.
Exactly. And hey, by the way, yeah, he may have what people consider a legit team wrapped around him, but so does Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has arguably the best wide receiver in football right now. Well, he's injured right now, but I'm just saying in general. And they're 2-4. So, well, now they're 3-4, right? They just beat San Francisco, so they're 3-4. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Yeah. So and they also have one of the best rookies that came out of the draft this year as a wide receiver. So it's all about you can have the greatest players on the planet and still fall on your ass because your coaching sucks. Your coaching's not. It's not a. There's no continuity within that system, and we see that a lot. You're seeing it on. Look, the Cleveland Browns are a great example of this right now. You got one of the best defenses in football, and you got an offense that's fluttering even with Deshaun Watson in there. Which, by the way, Deshaun Watson doesn't even want to play football right now because he was cleared 2.5 weeks ago. And he's yet. And when he went out and played, he got hit. They pulled him out of the game, and now he's back to being day to day. So he was considered elite. That's why he got an $84 million. He was the highest paid quarterback. In fact, he had the highest, most fully guaranteed contract out of anyone when he left Washington. He was considered elite. He was throwing over 4,000 yards a year every year with Washington. 4,700 yards, 4,800 yards, 4,400 yards. But when your team sucks, as far as the coaching is concerned, or even the players around you sometimes suck, they're not in the right place, nobody's in rhythm. I mean, fuck, I'd be upset if I played for Washington. Nobody wants to play for Washington. I mean, look how bad they're doing right now. Everybody thought, look, by the way, there was a question, I think it's Caleb, if I'm not mistaken, said, who's his next successor? Talking about Staley. I could tell you there's a rumor going around. I don't even know if this will happen or not, but within some of the guys that I know, said that it might be Bill Belichick. That he likes Justin Herbert. He likes the team, but he wants it his way. The difference is that they're going to have to get rid of their oh, wait, what's up? I forgot. That is you. They're going to have to get rid of their GM because Belichick is a GM and a head coach, and he's not going to go backwards. So if that's what they want to do, and they want to make that move, they're going to have to get rid of their general manager.
Yeah. Speaking of Russell Wilson, that Chronic Thoughts Casey Mo brought up Russell Wilson. Let's head to the AFC West expansion where we talk the rest of the AFC. Russell Wilson won a game. The
Yes,
Broncos beat the Packers by kicking a bunch of field goals. They kicked 3 field goals in a row. This is the kind of game that makes me thankful for NFL Red Zone. I know that this is the kind of game that just sucks. I mean,
that was a Hershey squirt game.
I mean, when you go field goal, when you go 3 points,
here we go again.
when we go 3 points in the first quarter and then 2 more field goals in the second quarter to end the first half 9-0,
yeah,
I'm happy that the NFL Red Zone exists. But
absolutely. And look,
Russell
man,
Wilson passed for 194
won
yards. So congratulations. You had 100 more yards than last week. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. And his
Moving
QBR went up by about 40 points. So that's strong. I mean, he was at 10.1 with us. I think like right around 50 with, in this game. So not bad. He didn't win anything though. I mean, no matter how you look at it, he won nothing. The only thing he got was yay boy type of thing because he didn't get anything else. He didn't win shit. I hope they win 5-6 games.
That's what I've been saying. Look, I need the Bengals to win a couple more games.
Yeah.
The Raiders, the Broncos, all these teams, we need them to be like 7-9 or whatever the math works out to be nowadays. 7-10. Okay. I do not need these teams drafting like elite level players, okay, with like the 4th overall pick. Let them be in permanent quarterback purgatory. All right. The Broncos continue to look bad. They've got that that player that got suspended for
finally. Fuck. It's only been like 7 straight games that he was doing something stupid.
Yeah,
they finally got him.
2 games earlier today.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess the NFL is now gonna start stepping in on a couple of these. I mean, the hits that he did, like the one against the Packers, wasn't the worst hit that I've seen. But the problem is that when you build up a reputation of doing crap like that, that's what's going to get you in trouble. So,
well, maybe they did reduce it to 1 game.
I saw it was 2 games. I thought it was 4-2, but either 1 game, whatever. They reduced it either way.
I heard, and there was rumors going around. They thought they were going to suspend him for the year at one point.
I mean, if you want to make an example out of somebody, make an example of a guy that's been hitting people above the, spearing people all game or all year and, on a bad team. So
he did it against us. And in fact, I think there was 1 hit against us that he laid out that was worse than what he got suspended for. And I'm trying to remember who he hit. I don't remember who it was he hit right now. I don't know why it's blanking me, but I remember, and I was pissed off because I was doing the PSF show, and I went, "What the fuck?" I mean, where the fuck was the ref when that happened? Because it was a straight off. I mean, his feet left the ground, helmet first, nothing said. I'm like, geez, what the fuck is going on? And I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. But there's times when I look at shit like that, and I think, fuck, man, they really hate our guts. Because there's been so many penalties that have just been thrown out the window against us. There was a late hit last week, actually, on Mahomes that nobody called. I don't know. To me, it's annoying, but I'm glad he got suspended. I hope it humbles him a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah. The Broncos defense, I know they only gave up 17 points to the Packers, but Jordan Love did not get pressured a ton. They didn't sack him at all. Jordan Love had a bad interception. So even though they only gave up 17 points, I think that was not because the Denver Broncos defense all of a sudden picked it up and played a great game. It was more that the Packers offense couldn't seem to do it. This is not some sort of like turnaround game. I will say Javonte Williams looks like a good NFL running back. So I guess they've got that going for him. 82 rushing yards behind that mediocre offensive line.
Yeah.
Good for him. But yeah, we're facing them coming up this Sunday, and we'll talk about more on that game on Thursday. But
I
you know,
feel
we
like
got to
Josh.
talk
I
about
feel like
all that.
Jordan Love is not getting. He's another one that I feel like is a lot better quarterback than what we're seeing on the field.
Yeah, fortunately for him, this is really his first. This is his first season as a starter. So
It is.
we'll
You
see
got to
what
give
he
him
turns
time,
into.
but
We
I
already
don't know.
talked about the Chargers, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Raiders, who got
Yeah, agree.
killed,
Is
just murdered by the
yeah,
Bears.
yeah.
Um,
That was fucking funny.
that's the kind of that's what I want to see. 30-12 is the final score in that game, and the Bears could just did anything and everything they wanted to them. I mean, once again, this was a game of field goals for the Raiders. I mean, they scored 9 points in the fourth quarter. Now, one of those was on a missed PAT or a failed 2 point conversion.
Yeah.
But look, the Raiders are bad. I feel good about my prediction that the Raiders are going to finish last in the AFC West because I feel like the Raiders are going to fall apart late in the year. Brian Hoyer hasn't won a game since like 2018. So he threw two
Yeah.
interceptions. This team is going to fall apart, and the Raiders are going to Raider. You know,
I asked a question to an insider yesterday. I said, you're looking at some of these coaches like Josh McDaniel, um, and what's his face there, and with the Chargers, Staley, and then you look at LaFleur. What do you think is going to happen with these coaches come next year? And it, it was almost unanimous that everybody but Josh McDaniels will be probably canned. And I said, you don't think he's going to dump McDaniels? He goes, fuck no. He goes, I don't believe it'll happen for a second, and the reason is because he's got his head so far up Brady's ass, he's letting Brady almost call shots to a degree because he's too busy. Mark Davis, that doesn't know football, is too busy worrying about his WNBA team that just won their second WNBA championship in a row.
I hope all these
And
guys stick around. Are you kidding me?
yeah, I'd be happy as well. I mean, look, I like the
Run it back,
competition.
AFC West. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the competition. I want to play teams I want to be in a division that actually has some competition. We have nothing. And we're playing fucking Girl Scouts. And it's after a while, it's almost like how the Patriots had it. When you really think about it, for all those years, the Patriots played nobody. They were guaranteed 6 wins a year.
I know. I'm happy getting spotted 6 wins.
I don't want. I would rather have the competition and show that we're better than just because we're handed fucking wins because everybody else sucks. But
It's
in the
nice
same
having
aspect,
a practice, a live practice every other week.
well, I guess that's true too. But in the same aspect, I would rather play have some competition, put something out there that shows that we can really play the game without people saying, everybody knows we can. But a lot of it has to do with, oh, well, look at the division they're in, because that's what it's coming down to now. It was the same thing that everybody said about the Patriots for 20 fucking years is what they're saying about us now. Well, look at their division. Look at their division. Look at their division. I don't want to be that part guy. I don't want to be that team.
Because the Chargers get the offseason Lombardi Trophy every year, so I don't know if that has the same.
But the Miami did too. Miami always, for some reason, Miami always was that team that, man, they look good this year. Miami really did some good drafting this year. I think this might be the year Miami was the only team during the Tom Brady era that actually beat him more than once. The Bills never beat him. The Jets never beat anyone. It was just such a weird thing. So it sucks to be in that conversation of, oh, well, they got a really shitty division. I would like to have one fucking team in this division that actually has some balls. Just so we could go out and beat them twice and say, fuck it, see, we are good.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say, but
Josh
it is
Jacobs
what it
has
is.
been a disappointment this year. 11
We got his
carries for
contract.
35 yards.
He got his contract, man. He got his extra $800,000. He's not happy about it. And by the way, let's just talk about something really quick with the Raiders. Devontae Adams is one unhappy motherfucker right now.
That was going to be my next point. Devontae Adams is
unhappy.
pissed off.
Very unhappy. They're not going to trade him. They refused to trade him, and he asked for
it. They brought him in so he could, play with his college best friend. His college best friend gets basically cut. I mean, that's what happened. He got cut, and he's still hanging around. Yeah. They've got Brian Hoyer throwing a football to him, and throwing the ball to him is very kind.
Yeah.
It was like lobs to him.
Yeah.
7 receptions for 57 yards. This offense is stagnant. That defense outside of Max Crosby has nothing. It's a Raiders football team, right? I mean, isn't this what it always is? The Raiders have like 2 really good players, and the rest of the team is just a garbage dump. Like, isn't that what the Raiders have always been for the last
since 2002?
Yeah,
that's how
for the last 2 decades they've been.
Yeah.
Oh wow, they've got Sebastian Janikowski,
yeah.
and another player, and then the rest of the team is like, I'm sorry, who is that? What? That's a football player. Are you sure that's not a creative player? I can't believe you brought up
Janikowski.
Like what?
I can't believe you brought up Janikowski.
Sebastian Yeah, that's the one good Raiders player that played on the team for like 15 years. The other ones just wise up and leave. Man.
He played forever. Oh, by the way, that was a topic really quick on what was I watching? They were bringing up, it was on the New Heights show. Travis Kelce and his brother were talking about, rugby and football, and can rugby players make the transition into football? And Jason Kelce said, absolutely not. And Travis said, well, there's been a few. I know, one right now. But that's what, Sebastian Janikowski was a rugby player. He was a beast. The guy was just, he could kick a ball a long fucking ways, man. And he was accurate. He was so accurate. I mean, just a great kicker all the way around. But it was kind of comical to listen to those two go back and forth, because there has been like 4 that I think have made the transition from rugby to the NFL and been successful.
A lot of them are kickers.
Yeah, a lot of them are kickers. 3 of them, I think, were actually kickers. Yeah, kickers or punters, yeah. But I thought it was kind of comical. But yeah, he was a rugby player. When they brought that up, he was actually the first person that came to my mind because he played rugby. So I thought, wow, that's comical that they brought that up. But what's our next segment?
I think that I don't have any other thoughts on the Raiders game. I think that's it. That's all unless you have any final thoughts that you wanted to bring up.
I don't really want to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up because there's been a lot of ignorance going around. Whoever's listening to this, we've learned in the past, or you should have learned in the past, to not make assumptions and not jump overboard, especially with the clickbait media bullshit that goes on in this town. Let's let this Justin Ross thing play out a little bit before we jump the gun, because we already know that there was some misinformation put out there 3 or 4 times. Now it's down, just so you know, which I brought this up earlier today. It was dropped from a $25,000, supposedly $25,000 in property damage. It was brought down to $1,000 and 2 misdemeanors right now. I don't know what came out of the court date today, or the court hearing today. I didn't get a chance to ask. I was busy.
I know he has another court hearing on December 4th.
So that tells me that it was continued, and they're trying to find evidence, because the only thing they had was a 911 call, and I know that for 100% fact. There's no video, there's no audio as of yet, unless somehow, some way, somebody just shits them. There's nothing.
Yeah, we know that there was a gun in the home, but one was not used. There was no weapon found on Ross. Look, I am not going to jump to any conclusions because there's no point to. I know that a lot of people are, and I don't want this to come off as a joke, because it's not. There are a lot of Chiefs fans that are really hyped up on Ross, and they want to see him out.
I'm one of them.
And I don't want to jump to any conclusions, because we just don't know as the public yet. So I don't want to get that much in detail about it because I don't think that would
No,
be
it's
right
not worth
for
it.
me. So
It's not worth it for
uh,
anybody.
yeah, we'll wait, just wait and see. And I know that's probably not what you want to hear, but we just got to wait and see. December 4th is his next hearing. Kansas City, the organization, Chiefs organization, have not put any statement out as
And
of
they're not
yet.
going to right now.
Andy
So
Reid, I can almost guarantee you, Andy Reid's going to get asked about it tomorrow during his press conference, and I'm sure he'll say something about that we're aware of the situation and we're monitoring it, and
yeah, he'll
that'll be the
absolutely
end of it.
deflect on it
So
because he's been down this road 3 times now. 3 times. And they know not to make rash decisions. I'll just put it that
yeah,
way.
so we'll see what happens. As of right now, Ross is still on the roster,
Yes, he is.
and that's all that I have to say about that. That's all the information we have.
Yeah. Or are we willing to say anyway. With that being said, there's been a few moves today. Did you see that that kicker retired or was cut today? Maher. What's his name? Um, what did he say? He said, "What are your thoughts on the Chiefs tackles players against the Chargers pass rushes?"
Uh, I thought they did very well, actually.
Yeah,
I think that now Bosa has a broken toe or something wrong with his toe, and Khalil Mack is not nearly the player he used to be, despite the fact that he got one game with 6 sacks against the Raiders. But I think we talked about this before the show. Like, I think the Thursday before the Chargers game, I was like, I think the Chiefs need to, improve their tackle play because it's the weakness of their offensive line. And then Patrick Mahomes has the ability to throw for an hour and a half in the pocket. So
yeah, yeah.
they very quickly proved me wrong. Now, it'll be interesting to see, when Kansas City, the wide receivers, if they struggle getting open again, because the corners and safeties on the Chargers aren't very good. So Kansas City didn't struggle against man coverage like they have in the past. So I thought the tackles played really well, but I also think that, because the defensive backs aren't very good on the Chargers, there was never going to be such thing as a coverage sack because the wide receivers were able to immediately get open. But I mean, the tackles, you can only play against who you're playing. So tackles did good.
Well, here you go. After week 7, Patrick Mahomes is the least sacked quarterback in football and the
Yeah.
least pressured quarterback in football, by the way. Um, in fact, through the first 3 games of the season, there was 1 sack, 13 quarterback hurries, 9 quarterback hits, 0 pressure on 81.7% of dropbacks.
Yeah, and sacks are a quarterback stat, and pressures are an offensive line stat. Because
Exactly.
a lot of times, especially if you think like Russell Wilson, he'll run himself into sacks, right? He'll break out of the pocket, and
That's
you
because
know
he's slow.
you'll break out of the pocket, and then that defensive lineman that was trying to go in, well, now all he has to do is disengage from the tackle, and he can go get a guy. So sacks are a quarterback stat most of the time, and pressures are an offensive line stat. So, and we all know that Patrick Mahomes somehow, some way, always outruns the guy running behind him.
Yeah.
So he helps with a lot of that. He blinds a lot of the problems that the Chiefs have on the offensive line. Think about Orlando Brown Jr. I know that
Yeah.
a lot of that name upsets a lot of fans, but
It doesn't
think
really.
about what he was able to do when he was his tackle. But yeah, I think the Chiefs tackles and the entire offensive line did a really good job. Kansas City has a very strong offensive line, especially the interior, and I think that's what's been able to open up, or I know that's what's been able to open up the interior run game, which has been a huge benefit to this offense.
Oh, how about okay? So I wanted to bring this up really quick. Good thing Anthony Richardson had a successful surgery. That's fantastic for the Colts. Good. But the good part about it here is that Jim Ezra, the ex drug addict,
The
decided to
owner of
say
the Colts.
the owner of the Colts, saying that he admitted the 2 officiating errors in Sunday's loss to the Browns,
What a wacko
um,
dude.
calling it, and he's calling for instant replays on all calls now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that worked so well last time.
yeah. The only
How
thing
about
that
you
and
just
the funny part about that whole situation was Even when they just did it on OPI and DPI, it didn't work out.
Yeah, they never changed the call.
They never changed the fucking call. It was changed 2%. Over every one that was challenged, there was a 2% overturn rate.
Yeah, which was like
2%.
1.
Yeah. So that was kind of stupid to even consider it. But
wackadoo.
He's fucking nuts.
He's a wackadoo.
And you know what's sad is that he was. It's funny because he was one of the guys that was up, Daniel Snyder's ass along with Jerry Jones. But then all of a sudden, he was the one that turned against him. An ex-crackhead turned against a guy that threw drug parties and orgy parties with his players, allegedly. So it's just comical for him to come out and say this. It's not going to happen. You can call for it all day long. There's no fucking way any network on the planet would allow that to happen because you're talking about 6-hour football games if it does.
And college football games are already too long. Exactly. College football games are too long. I don't need my NFL games to be like college football games.
Yeah, it's just fucking ignorant. But luckily both of those guys, there were 2 different guys that had surgeries today, and both of them came out lucky. But there was what's his name? That kicker, man. He got cut today. Let me think about this for a minute. It was a name that I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Because if you can't tell me what team or his last name, that I don't know.
I said his name. His last name was Maher or Mayer. His name. He's been around for a long time. He's actually a good kicker. Damn it,
Brett Maher.
Yeah, Brett Maher,
the Rams guy.
Yeah, he fucking got cut, which I was a little surprised.
Kicking in the NFL is a ruthless game because you have like 1 or 2 bad games and you're out of here.
It is a 2-game suspension on Kareem Jackson, by the way.
Yeah, boom. I told you.
Yeah, it was a 2-game. It's brought.
You should always listen to me blindly.
You're stupid. Yeah, so there's just a lot of changes going around in the NFL right now. And by the way, it's nice to see Dante Hall. He is now in the Chiefs Hall of Fame.
No surprises here.
That's pretty cool that it finally happened after all of this time. It took long enough. By the way, Malik Cunningham got waived today, the quarterback, which I was a little surprised because he's actually pretty good. There's been so many different. Deion Jackson was claimed by the Giants off waivers from the Browns, which is pretty cool. I'm just glad to see some of these guys get picked back up because we hear about this all the time. And Chris Olave, the fuck was he doing? Did anybody see that? The reckless driving video that's out where he got arrested for reckless driving and all the shit that he was being a complete dick. I don't know what's going on with these players, but there's a lot of shit going on in the NFL right now with some of the players, and then even a couple of coaches have some shit going on. But I wanted to bring some of this up because I put it all down thinking about this. Let's talk about one thing really quick. Brock Purdy, and then we can end this show. There's been a lot of back and forth about Brock Purdy.
Okay, you can say it. You can say, Quentin, I'm sorry that I didn't listen to you.
I never said he was some kind of elite quarterback. What I said was look at it from this perspective. No, I want you to look at it from this perspective. You can whisper it.
That's fine. I'd allow it.
Fuck off.
You can be like,
he was now out of the last.
Right.
And Thiz, you're right there. You tell me if I'm wrong. Out of the last 6 quarterbacks that they've had, is he not the best, the most accurate in their system?
Oh my God, dude.
That's all I want to know.
You set the bar so low that you can't even fucking limbo over it.
It's true. He's made good decisions for the most part, and
he made such good decisions that he threw a game-losing interception.
That's going to happen to a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying he's not what everybody assumed. The one thing that I did say, and I am going to die on that hill, is that system makes any quarterback look good. I've said that forever. He just made it look a little bit better than other quarterbacks, like a Jimmy Garoppolo.
I will just copy and paste what I've been saying this whole time. System quarterback, mediocre guy, has no athletic ability.
He ran pretty good last night.
He had like 1 scramble.
But it was for 17 yards.
Oh, congratulations!
I
Like,
mean, most of the time he
congratulations.
doesn't have to run.
You had one 17-yard scramble where
But most of the time he
everybody was
doesn't
in
have to
man
run.
coverage and you had no quarterback spy with one of the best offensive lines in football. Good job. Bravo.
Well, most of the time he doesn't have to run.
So,
And he doesn't
yeah,
have
because
right
the
now
team
he
is
doesn't have,
great. He's not
but
even
right
he's
now
the
he
fifth
doesn't have
best
the
player
best.
on his team.
He's missing his best tackle.
He's the fifth best player on his team. I'm not going to sit here and congratulate the guy for playing well when you're the most important position on the team and you're the fifth best player on the team.
But he was Mr. Irrelevant. He was not
I don't
even
give
expected.
a shit. I don't give a shit if
He
he's
wasn't
Mr. Irrelevant,
expected to even hold the
1-1, if he was
clipboard.
the 420th guy looked at the combine. I don't give a shit.
He wasn't even supposed to hold a clipboard, and he's
Don't
out there
care.
playing
I don't
for a
care.
good football
The
team.
guy that played for
that's an accomplishment.
The guy that played for the Bears last week was a Division II football player, and I don't care. Don't
He's
care.
pretty good though. He's actually pretty good.
Stop it.
You got to give him a little bit of credit. He's pretty good.
No.
Hey, by the way, last thing, Marvin Jones Jr. is stepping away from football to take care of family reasons. I think that's admirable. I wanted to bring that up because everybody made a big fucking deal about it. They always go back to Andrew Luck, and the way he walked away from football. But he's doing it to take care of personal family things that he needs to take care of, and family comes first, and that's what he should have done. So it's a kick in the teeth for the Lions, even though the Lions got humbled, like tremendously humbled, to like they just got their fucking asses handed to them humbled.
Yeah, they did.
And they needed that humbling. I think they really they needed that more than anything. If there was a team in the NFC that needed to be humbled the most, it was them. Because really they've played really good football, but again, let's go back to the number one rule of football. Strength of fucking schedule. They got lucky against us week 1. After that, it gave them a little bit of momentum, but if you look at the teams that they played, they did not play strong defensive teams or offensive teams or both. And you can say, and there was the 33rd team put out a question today. Out of the 2 teams left that are one-loss teams, Chiefs, Eagles, who's the best? Let's think about this. We have a bunch of rookies on our team, offensively, defensively, no matter how you look at it. Our special teams has rookies on it. With the exception of a few guys that they brought in that they tried out and it didn't work out, we don't have an A.J. Brown. We don't have anything close to it. Well, I can't say that. We don't have an A.J. Brown. We don't have, what's their tight end? Is it Goddard?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Other than, Goddard's a great player, but they have arguably one of the best wide receivers in football that's made some phenomenal catches, but yet they've regressed this year. Their strength of schedule is nowhere near ours. Look who they play. Look who they played up to week 7. Look who they played. We haven't played the strongest people yet, but we played take out the Broncos and the Chargers. We played some pretty decent football teams. The Jets, top 5 defense. Pretty tough team to beat. And it came down to a nail biter. And I know that they don't have the best quarterback in the game, but they still have a great team around them and a very good head coach. I think we have the slight edge on them just simply because we stepped in. We were short Travis Kelce at the beginning of the season. We had 3 rookies out on the field as wide receivers. We had no true number 1 out there besides Travis Kelce, which was injured. And we don't use our run game nearly as much. And look, man, no matter how you want to fucking slice it, the only team in the NFL that tries the tush push and actually is successful with it is the Eagles. And they do it. And I don't know if you look, but last year they scored, I think, 14 touchdowns on the tush push. If I'm not mistaken, it was 14 touchdowns. And they had a tremendous amount of first downs they got on the tush push. Here's my thing with that. If you're in a situation on that many times on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, whatever the case may be, that you have to use that, then you're doing something wrong. Because when we're 3rd and 7, 3rd and 14, third and 17 like we were last week, and Mahomes just scrambles for 23. That's the difference. That's the difference between the two teams. So I think we have the slight edge on them as far as the last two remaining one-loss teams. We have a slight edge on them just because we're playing with a lot of rookies, a lot of gelling going on, missing a Minihu during the season. Chris Jones was out the first game. It just kind of trickled. It was a trickle down effect. And now we're starting to show that we can play against anyone and win. I don't know if they can say they can do that right now because they got beat by a team that they shouldn't have gotten beat by. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I don't see, like, if you talk about the Eagles, you can point out some clear weaknesses. I don't think you can really do that with the Chiefs, especially if the wide receiver core continues to improve. It's as simple as that.
Correct. There's weaknesses on that football team. They've regressed this year in ways that I kind of expected, and we talked about this on an earlier show at the beginning of the season, or actually at the end of last season. I thought they would regress when they lost their – and a lot of their weaknesses is coming from, one, they don't have their offensive and defensive coordinator, and number two, I don't think they have a good head coach. I think he's an arrogant prick that doesn't know how to call plays, and he relies on his offensive defensive coordinator. And they're not doing – and they promoted from within, but yet they still want to use their own method. And it's not working out for them as well as they expected. That's just my opinion. We're just going to continue to grow and get better each week, and it's we're showing that every week. If this happens and Rashee Rice ends up being the number one wide receiver by week 10, and whatever happens during that Miami game, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows, but Miami's 2 losses this year, or I'm sorry. Yeah, their 2 losses, they lost against – the only 2 teams that they lost against were winning football teams that were above 500. Everybody else that they beat were below 500. So that has a lot to say with their game. But I think we have the upper edge on a lot of football teams, and a lot of it just stems from coaching and Patrick Mahomes. It just is what it is. With that being said, I don't know what else we got, man. I mean –
we will talk about the Thursday. Jesus. We will talk about the Broncos game on Thursday, so make sure you come back for that show. Other than that, let's get out of here.
Let's get the fuck on. Hey, everybody on here, look up in the corner. You see that sign? Fucking download the app, man. I mean, do you understand that we're right now giving away an autographed rookie Nick Bolton jersey? And then another mystery gift to a guy on PSF that had actually interacted from week 1 on. Every week, live game cast, giveaways, all kinds of fun shit. A hell of a lot better than listening to fucking Joe Buck. So if you like Joe Buck and you want to listen to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talk about how every quarterback sucks except him, then you go right ahead. Or Chris Collinsworth that he has just lost a step in every aspect of commentating. You go right on. Or you can join where you can be pretty much unfiltered, say what you want, be a part of the show, and enjoy yourself with fans and analysts and everybody else listening and watching. With that being said, we will talk to you guys again on Thursday. Peace out, everybody.